Hello my friends, today is Monday, so Coldemons is in the air. Again. It's time to make some finishing touches on the Tiger project, so let's get to work. Let's start with this little roof that I mentioned earlier. A simple idea, but you can do some effects on it. First, a little silver flash on the fresh lines of the wells. There aren't many of them, but they contrast nicely with the dark color of the plate and chips. Secondly, a bit of rust around the welds, and thirdly, streaks, of course, rusty. All in really small amounts to make it look subtle, but without a doubt what's going on. Okay, when I had a pencil next to me I polished the machine guns. The one in the turret and the one in the hull. You can also do it with pigments or even with paint, but why complicate your life? The most important thing is to do it gently so as not to damage the paint coating, which despite the undercoat may unexpectedly be rubbed off if you do it too hard. And now our old friends from previous episodes. 3 rust colors that we will use on towing cables and other elements. All the colors are randomly applied to the ropes and to the thin truck service rope. We don't cover the whole thing, only some fragments. In some places you can also put 2 or even 3 colors in one place, so it will be more varied. This is fast work and you can get all the ropes on the model in 5 minutes. The main thing is not to be afraid of using the products. When the paint is dry, it's worth rubbing them with a pencil as well as machine guns. A little trick. Try to draw a weave lengthwise, as it will be more effective than crosswise. Look how I do it. And the cables are painted. Now, as suggested by several of my subscribers, I'm tweaking the base Camo S-Minen launchers. Thanks gentlemen for pointing this out to me. Easy peasy. Back to the rust. A bit of shade on the shovel will do well for its final look. Of course with the use of my favorite tool, which is a hair dryer. Now a bit of pencil polishing and the shovel is ready. To apply the polisher I also use a silicone rubber, which also works well in such tasks. A continuation of polishing, but this time on the antenna, which in a moment will be mounted in the socket on the hull. In my opinion, such a metal one looks much better than a plastic rod. Its shape is better made, which cannot be said about plastic. Now the figure. I know some of you would love to see me painting figures, but I'm not a master in this matter. I plan to do it in a while to show how I paint Camo on Wolf SS uniforms, but for now have a look at how I upgrade the Evolution Miniatures one. As you can see, I used Archer stickers, which are perfect for detailing. If you don't know these products, check the link in the description. Of course I treated all the stickers with decal softener from Microscale. In general, I was wondering how and whether to use this figure at all, but I decided that it would be fun to liven up the scene with the tank. I had doubts because nowhere did I find a photo from the action where you can see the crew in such a position in a Tiger. However, despite this, I decided that it looks great, and even if it isn't true to reality, it will look like that on my model. If anyone can confirm or deny it, please comment and explain how it functioned in these tanks. The second issue is the size of the shell. Originally this figure ejects the shell from the 75mm Panther gun. However, when I compared the size to the Eureka XXL product I was about to use, it surprised me that they were almost identical. Who mismeasured or overscaled the miniature? I bet that the figure is a bit too big, but it isn't a problem because everything fit perfectly and you can't see such big differences. In 35 scale, the difference between the 75 and 88mm is small. In this particular case I don't care about it because more important was to prepare interesting look than 1mm of difference. Okay, the end of this topic. The pigmentation was obviously done with the same pigments I used previously. I dirtied the model with parts to keep it in order and not to forget about any element. I applied pigments alternately around the turret ring, into nooks and crannies in random locations on horizontal surfaces. Of course they were merged with the surface with fixer. In this case it was white spirit because it dries quickly and leaves no traces. Obviously a hair dryer was necessary. You already know this favorite tool of mine. Maybe I will call it accelerator or something like this. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments. Of course there are also dusty effects on the sides of the hull to keep everything in a meaningful unity. I decided that there would be some lumps of mud on the engine plate accidentally thrown as if the tank had been showered after an explosion nearby. I think it's obvious that it's completely natural on the battlefield. I scraped off dried pieces of ready-made mud from the lid and crushed them, even cut them and then sprinkled like salt on the model. A bit of corrections, changing the place here and there, and then soak them with plastic cement from Modeler's World. I like the effect very much and it looks very realistic. I took the pigments again to put on the model, but now I focused on dirting the turret. By the same method as before, I did some effects and preserved them with white spirit. And now a general look at the model from a distance. As you can see, the camo colors have become much muffled and it now looks very natural, just like on vehicles serving in the field. In contrast, for example, I didn't specifically cover the hatches, which made them more visible. An old trick, but very effective. Time for superb effects in the form of stains from different liquids and water. First, grease stains of oil around the turret's ring. There is no need to limit yourself as they will be mostly covered anyway, but it's worth that some irregular spots extend beyond the outline of the turret. Of course, they mustn't be missing on the engine plate. Here the lumps of mud make a lot of mess, so small spots won't change much, but in my opinion there is no point in letting go. The second effect is dirty water. Imagine the Kursk spilling water on the dusty surfaces of the vehicle. This is exactly how it should be presented. Maybe even more, but I didn't want to overdo it. Better less than more. You can of course add small drops by speckling, it all depends on our needs and imagination. Some streaks on the sides and it looks great. Now some oil paints to make heavy oil leaks on the wheels. I diluted both colors and applied to make appropriate stains. Nothing difficult, although they look best on less muddy wheels. The great moment has come to finally place the model on almost ready stand, but based on my experience I decided to do it with a long screw. Mud alone won't keep the model securely. I drilled a hole in the floor so that the screw wasn't too loose in it. I set the model on the base, trying to insert the tracks as accurately as possible into the previously imprinted tracks, and I put the screw in. By the way, if you haven't seen the movie about the stand, click on the banner at the top. The model is holding up perfectly, but there was a moment of uncertainty. Now I put the mud back on to push the tank more into the ground. I repeated the whole procedure for making the stand, as you can see in the previous episode. It took me about 20 minutes. Thanks to this, the model fitted well with the ground and everything looked very natural. A bit of glossy varnish to make it wet and we can move to the next stage. In the meantime I fitted the figure into the hatch and glued the hatch cover permanently. Helmut looks great. Congratulations Evolution Miniatures, the figure is really nice. It gives the whole scene so much life that nothing else is needed. I started matching the Eureka XXL shells to the base. As you can see, the story is told in a simple way. The tiger stands on a fire position and conducts rapid fire at the advancing enemy. The loader ejects the shells from the tank and we can only guess how many hits the crew has already scored. Each shell was placed on a wooden stick and first cleaned with a model degreaser and then covered with a metal primer. When they dry up, I applied acrylic brass color into 2 layers and glued each to its place. Now a little wash and we have the elements ready. When I opened the bag with chains, I laughed to myself because I realized that almost every model has even a small piece on it. But the tank without a chain? This cannot be. Here I put this piece on pipes from the FIFO air system and glue it with pigment cement from Modeller's World. It worked great, it dries quickly, smells good, leaves no traces after drying and holds tight. Advantages only. Highly recommended. The heated wire from the set of rear model trucks was easier to bend. After correct shaping, I glued it to the bucket and painted. Then I made potatoes from the mustard seeds, adding them into a bucket and pouring glue over them. After drying, it was enough to paint over with brown paints and add some earth pigment. Simple and effective. I also prepared the seeds in a sweeter version, apples left by the commander. They were painted with shades of red with a slight satin shimmer to look like fruits. A good place to hang a bucket is also an important matter because I don't think the crew would want to lose such a valuable cargo. This is why I always smile when a bucket is hanging just above the ground on a towing eye. Quick installation of the antenna rod, unification with pigments, and we already have radio communication. A bit of mud on the bottom of the bucket, which is heavily treated with pigments anyway, but you still have to merge it to make sense and look realistic. And this is the effect when the pigment cement is dry. I know, now thunders will come down on me for this salt. I know, but it looks cool. A little won't hurt, and so I did it. That's all. Little pieces of double-side tape were added to the ring so the turret wouldn't be too loose. They did their job perfectly. They hold the entire element, but if necessary you can safely remove the turret from the model. Now some little rag to throw on the vehicle, a piece of tissue soaked in glue. Just place it on the model and let it dry. Then a bit of wash and we have a ready-made rag forgotten by the crew and lying quietly somewhere between the elements of the equipment. A larger tarp is a greater challenge. As I have previously colored pieces of tissues, now it was enough to just soak it in glue and place it properly on the model. A few drops is enough. Drain off the excess and put it on the model. It seems simple because it is. Of course, a bit of weathering afterwards is necessary. The most important thing is to put it in a realistic way. I always try to imagine how such a tarp could look like, thrown or squeezed between the elements of the vehicle. Pay attention to folds and proper fit to the armor. Now you can see how fast I make the weathering, which is made mostly with the pigments. Yeah, I know the movie is sped up, but it doesn't take much time anyway. As German vehicles very often carried flags for air identification, I decided to prepare for my Tiger one as well. As you can see, I use a piece of tissue again, which is painted with acrylic paints. The most attention should be paid to painting the Hakenkreuz, although I didn't care about it because I knew that it would be folded, so therefore, in order to avoid unnecessary problems, this fragment will be cut from the movie. You know, it's just a model, but there is always someone who doesn't like it, and I don't want to lose my legacy this way. So the flag is painted, and after drying the paint I soaked it gently with glue and placed it on the model. Any imperfections in the painting will be corrected after drying. To speed up the drying I used my accelerator. I added a flexible string to do a flag binding. Thanks to this it looks protected against gusts of wind. When the paper was dry I started to correct the base colors, this is red and white, as well as to make shadows and highlights. Finally, I decided to add some extras in the form of hand grenades from Eureka XXL. The metal parts are great and they do the job when painted. A handy kit for defense against enemy infantry. I was wondering whether to add some PPH or MP40, but I gave it up. A little bit of dirt at the end with the pigments and it's ready. Yeah, another project is ready. It took a while to prepare it, but I hope that the films from the How to Paint series have been useful to some and have helped in building and painting of the models. As for me, it was another interesting lesson from working on the model. I used new products, worked even more on movies and gained new experiences. Thanks to everyone who is with me all the time by subscribing to my channel, writing the comments and clicking likes on my videos. I'm very happy with the positive feedback. Thanks to you, this channel exists and grows every day. I hope it will do even better. Thank you very much, my friends. In the next episode I'm starting a project with a Panther G from Camo model. Of course there will be an open the box with pile of extras, and I will use this model to make further How to Paint series tutorials. I think you won't be disappointed with this project. For now, please take a look at the effect of my work, subscribe to the channel, comment and like, visit my Instagram and blog. Thanks for watching, that's all for today. Take care, build models, and see you next time. Cheers! This kit will go to you and more precisely to one of the subscribers. So what do you need to do? Just subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet and write a comment under this video like this one you see here, so I know that you are playing the game. The lucky subscriber will be featured in the description of this video but next week, so you have 7 days, but do it now. That's all. Good luck and cheers!